Hey everybody, welcome back. Gonna spend another hour or two working on the GTI today, so thought I'd bring you guys along. So the last video we did the health check on the new used motor and everything checked out okay. I've been getting parts in for that. I got a whole stack of them over there. Check it out. I don't know, they're over there. Anyway, so that's ready to get started on rehabbing that one, but I also need to make some progress on getting this one out. So I felt like doing this today, so I'm going to work on this one. Now that I'm definitely for sure that this one's coming out, I think it's time to just go back to the book and start going through it step by step. So let's see where we're at on that. All right, so first thing on here, well, actually there was a couple of things back here on this other page. These are done. We did these last time. So we're now up to here. Remove battery and battery tray. So battery's out, tray's still in. Let's see if we can get the tray out. Okay, here's the battery tray. Oh, kitty. Also right underneath here, I kind of jumped the gun. I started draining the coolant. So I got a tub of coolant draining down there. Oh, cat's here to help. Cat, please. Every so often there's a little gurgle of coolant that goes in the bucket down there. It might sound like I'm taking a leak off camera, but I'm really not. Kitty. Kitty's gonna help. Anyway, the tray here, it's got 4 bolts that are under the battery, so of course they're a little bit corroded. And then we'll see what else there is. So all these wires feed back down this little plastic harness. There's a little cover back there. I think if I can pop it open, all these wires can lay back and this can come out. And there's that. I'll put these bolts here with it so we don't lose them. All right, battery tray done. Next thing, remove air cleaner assembly and connecting hoses. Done. Next thing is pull off fuel supply line hose and return line hose. Collect fuel that leaks out. Press release tabs on hose couplings to remove connecting hoses. Seal the lines so the fuel system is not contaminated. So fuel lines. Okay, I got our fuel supply and return right here. All right, fuel line's done. Next, sound absorber covers. We did all that before. Bumper done. Lock carrier done. Mark running direction and remove the V-belt. So that's next. Okay, this is the belt tensioner here, and what you got to do is run a bolt through this hole, and that, as you run the bolt in, it releases the pressure. So I got to find a bolt that'll fit that. Let's see what I got laying around. All right, I think I finally found one that'll work here. I'm a little concerned because it doesn't, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's it. It doesn't go in as easy as I would have thought it should, but maybe the hole's just gummed up. But this is the only one of these I got, so I don't want to mess it up. But I'll just take it easy here. There she is. Doesn't look too bad. I think this is reusable. All right. Next we've got remove the securing clamps for power steering pressure line, and then remove the power steering pump with bracket and hoses still attached and set to one side. So that's next. Okay, here's our power steering pump. That's the kind of lowest item on the motor here. I'm looking at it and it seems like it's got bolts in the back and the front, which is possible. I can't remember exactly how this goes, so well, let's start taking stuff apart and see what happens. What's happening here? Different size than the back. You'd think I'd remember some of this stuff from the first time, but I don't. Sad. Yep, that's a 14. Doke. And I'm tightening. Here we go. Bear with me. Don't worry. I'll just edit all this out. Make myself look a little better. Here's how you do it, folks. See these little holes? These give you access to these front bolts. And don't forget, 14 in the front, 13 in the back. Is that even true? No. They're all 13. Don't forget, folks, these are all 13s. There we go. All right, good. That's out. Okay, steering Power steering hose stuff. Did that. Pump. Next. Remove securing clamps from air conditioning, refrigeration hoses, lines. Do not disconnect lines, and then remove the AC compressor. And then hang it just like this. There she is. Oh yeah, this car. What a place to put the AC compressor. This thing is so buried. So it's got some electrical connectors to come off, and then a couple of bolts. And as I recall, these bolts come out the front and they are basically run right into the frame here. There was some little trick to getting those out. We'll see if I can remember how that goes. Ah, dang it. There goes that. All right. So much for push-pull. Son of a... There it goes. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, broke that connector. Oh well. Carry on. Bottom one. It's incredible that this is a challenge to reach even with half the car out. Radiator disconnected and everything else. Still can barely get in there. Okay, so here we are. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's see if you can see this. This is just great. Okay, see the bolt? Comes out to there. So, now what? I think somehow this works. I did it. At some point. Past. Maybe it's out just far enough. So, I remembered how this works once I saw it. Let's see if I can get you down there. So, it's a tight spot, but okay, this is where that bolt goes through, and it's got a slot. So the bolt only comes out from back, God, I cannot reach in there, from back here, and then it's still in the compressor, but it can come out this little slot that they added in here conveniently. So see, it stays in there. You just got to remember when reinstalling it to put that bolt in first and then slide it up there, because if it's already up in position, you can't get that bolt in anymore. So I'll try to remember that. Maybe I'll just tape it in there. Okay, AC, lines and compressor done. Manual transmission, that's us. Disconnect selector mechanism from transmission. See the manual. Remove hydraulic slave cylinder. So shifter linkage and slave cylinder. All right, so we're gonna be down in here. These are our two shifter linkages, and these should just pop off. And then we got our slave cylinder down here. So these little end pieces, they kind of, see, they connect. Let me get a light. Something metal. There we go. So they've got, you know, like a ball joint kind of, they clip onto a little round nubbin on the transmission side, and then they connect to the shift cable, and they're adjustable so that you can get your shift linkage all set. And the last time I did these, I was reading in the manual, and it says once you pop these off, you got to replace them. You can't just pop them back on. So I did. I ordered new ones, and they were kind of expensive, and they're hard to find. And I was talking to a VW guy later on, and he was like, oh, no, you just pop those back on. However, I was also thinking that what I should have done the first time anyway is just disconnected them back here at the shift linkage, because I had to do that because I replaced them anyhow. And then you don't have to pop them off. But this time I'm putting in a new transmission, so I got to pop them off. So then the question is going to be, do I replace them? I feel like I probably should. The book says you should. These are probably 200,000 mile shifter linkages, so maybe they, you know, don't have a ton of life left in them anyway. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I'm going to pop them off for now. I'll think about whether or not I'm going to replace them. I'll see how they look, maybe. I don't know. Now, slave cylinder. Here he is. Got 2 bolts. Here's how these come off. Pull this back, and then bada bing. So there's that. I think these cost about 20 bucks each. But I'll see if I can find some. Oh, there it is. I think it'll be mostly out of the way. Sure. Okay, so the next step is to disconnect the entire electrical harness from the engine. And on this engine, it's a pain because you have to go through and disconnect every one of these little plugs, the fuel injectors, the cam position, spark plug stuff, every little thing, and then bring it all back over here. This big old spaghetti monster by the time you're done. I've done a couple of Subaru engine swaps, and on those engines, there's just a couple of, big 40-pin connectors in the back. You disconnect those 2 plugs, and that's it. Then the whole thing comes off. All this little stuff stays. So it's a chore, to say the least, on this engine to pull all the electrical harness. So I guess I'll just get plugging away at it. Yeah, that's a little pun for you guys there. So actually, I think before I start on the electrical harness, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in the book and do the coolant stuff so that I can get some of these hoses out of the way. I'll also pull out this radiator and its fan shroud and that stuff. I do need to leave the AC condenser here. So I got to separate the radiator from that and slip it out. And then I'll get rid of all these hoses. That'll give me more access for the electrical stuff. But I'm just gonna let you guys kick back. I'm gonna turn this up to warp speed, place a little music, and you can just kick back and watch me work here for a few minutes. Okay, done. Got all the electrical harness disconnected and over here. Most of it's even labeled, which is good. This went pretty good. There is one thing I was going to mention though. Let me bring you over to the other engine so I can demonstrate something. Okay, so a couple of things actually. Where's my thingy? Oh. Okay, so if you recall in one of the earlier videos, unless I edited it out, my trick that I showed you for getting these plugs off is the old push and pull. So they've got a little tab. You pull the tab. Let me get you a little, see, tab. You're supposed to pull the tab and then push it on, and then it comes off. And actually that one didn't do too bad. However, a lot of the ones on the existing motor in there, and I need to save these connectors, a lot of them broke. So this little tab in here, when you're pulling on it, especially if you get frustrated, you put a pair of pliers on it, breaks off, and then there's nothing to hold it in anymore. So that's not good. One of the ones that I broke off was this one that comes way in the back. I'm actually not sure what it is for. I don't know. Might be a cam or a crank position sensor or something. I broke that one on the existing motor over there. And I thought, well, I got a new one over here. Maybe I can just splice it on. But look at what they did to me here. They cut these wires so short that I don't know. Maybe I could cut some of this off and get enough wire in here. Anyway, that's frustrating. So I was noticing a lot of these connectors, man, they cut them right off at the connector. So there's barely any wire that you can use. Anyway, as I was working on it, I realized the old push-pull technique is no good anymore. I broke a lot of connectors, couldn't get them off, so I got a new technique. It involves the pick. So how this works is, what happens in here is you push this little tab, and then it's connected to a little spring clip in here. So let's see if you can, when I push the tab, see the spring comes up. As long as it's not too brittle and there's nothing at all holding it down, it can come up. But what I found works even better is to get a pick under there, and you can slide it in and lift this up and then pull it off. So a lot of these are in a position where you can barely get 2 fingers on them anyway, and it's hard to push this in and pull. But if you get a pick under here, you can lift up. So you just slide it in and it's lifting up the little thing, and then you can just pull it right off. Works much better. This is a version 2.0 of getting these connectors on and off. So works particularly good on the ones that are down in there and you can barely get your fingers on them, as long as you can get a pickup under there. And most of the ones I was able to do. Then they come right off. So there's that. So now what I've got to think about is this little fella here. This is the one that's attached to my harness, but I broke the tab. So this guy you can just pull it right on and off a little too easily. And I've got this new plug from the other one, which is in great shape, but man, no wires. So the question is, do I take this one that's probably okay and cut it and try to splice this one on, and hopefully that doesn't go wrong, and then where am I going to be? Or maybe I just don't mess with it. I don't know, something to think on. All right, it's the next day, but the job is the same. We're going to just continue disconnecting stuff and getting this engine ready to come out. Okay, so where were we here? All the electrical connectors done. Next up, drain coolant done. Remove right side inner CV joint protective cover. Remove right side drive shaft and left side drive shaft at transmission, and then the exhaust, and then we're doing engine mounts. So we're pretty much there. So all right, so we got the drive axles and exhaust. We'll do those next. All right, so I like to drop a screwdriver in the rotor here so that when I'm cranking on the bolts, this will hold the the axle in place so that I'm not just turning on the axle. So we're going to use the old M10 triple square for the bolts back there. All right, the next job here is disconnecting the exhaust. Okay, so we've got two exhaust manifolds coming out. Each one's got 3 bolts. These are exhaust manifold bolts, so they're always a challenge. So we'll just see what we can do. Give them a little WD-40. Now, what size are they? Looks like a, I don't know, 15. Bigger. 16. Bigger. 17. Yeah. Winner. I guess I may as well start on the hard ones. Let's see. This guy. Okay, at this point, I think we are all clear. We are ready to pull this motor out. So I went ahead. So here's the deal. So there's a mount on this side. There's a mount on this side. They kind of, you know, one's here, one's here. So then the whole thing is kind of like a pendulum, and you know you could kind of swing it. So underneath it's got a support that kind of limits how much it can swing. I already went ahead and disconnected the bottom one, so you can see maybe that now the whole thing just swings on the pendulum. In reading the book, what I determined is that this engine is supposed to drop down and out. So let's look at this mount here. So it's got like a rod that goes into the, you know, support bracket here on the body. Got 2 bolts on top. So what you're supposed to do is have this whole car up on a lift, and there's a special gizmo that bolts up underneath the motor, and then you can take these 2 bolts out, and then the whole thing can just drop away. I can't get the car high enough to do that, so I got to come up and out. So the last time I did this, I ended up trying to remove this wire way, which was a pain, and I kind of broke it. It doesn't really come out as easy as it seems like it would, in order to try to get the top of this housing off so that the whole thing can come, so that this pin that sticks out into here can come up. And similar problems on this side. So again, you got 2 easy access bolts here that could let it drop, but so it's got a pin that comes in here into this housing, and to get this housing off, there's, you know, power steering reservoir, coolant reservoir, all kinds of stuff in the way. It's not as easy as it seems like it might be to get this off. So that said, this time around, I think what I'm going to try is take these bolts off, see if I can lower it just enough to clear this little notch, come forward. Oh no, you know what? I think I tried that before and it didn't work because there's stuff's in the way. I don't know. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start taking bolts off and fiddling and futzing with it until I get it out. Yep, that's the plan. Okay, now we're ready to start ripping and tearing. All right, I think it's totally free. I'll be checking for any dangling hoses or wires as I move it around. Got the motor mounts disconnected. So now I will proceed with shimmying and shaking and wiggling and trying to get it out. All right, folks, I think that's it for today. Motor's out. I did end up having to disconnect the motor mount on this side to kind of turn it out of the way to get the drive pulley to clear. But other than that, you know, it was kind of a wiggle shimmy just like usual, but it finally does come out. So next time, we'll be working on getting that new motor ready. Timing chain, water pump, clutch, all that good stuff. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Leave your comments in the comment box. I'm sure there's some good ones for all the pro level mechanic work I've done here today. All right, we'll see you on the next one.